Hi guys. Not only was I not going to do a video like I'm about to do, and not and but not only that, it's a surprise to me I'm doing this, and not only that, it may even seem out of character, but I'm going to do it anyway. Something told me to do this. Um, it's about the religion thing and God thing and Bible thing, and I want to say something that I have never really expressed too much of. Um, Even when I was an atheist, I saw good in the example of the Bible of Jesus' life and the way he acted and the way he thought, you know. And some of my friends that were Christians would actually say that I'm more Christ-like than some of their friends, but I wasn't trying to be Joe Christian. I really liked the way Jesus thought and lived. A lot of it. I mean, he was like a genius, but he was also a badass. You guys get that? I mean, they put nails in his hand and he let them. That could not have felt good. And he could have stopped it at any time and shocked the world and shocked them all and vindicated himself right there on the spot. And he didn't do that. And I haven't had nails put in my hands, but I've tried to, and have had shown some behavior like that in my own life without saying I'm a Christian. So this video is just a testimony to that Jesus was a badass and a genius. And just as a few examples, since I'm talking, I'm going to give some examples of how I've things have happened in my life that I've done that might have shown that that at least I have life's Jesus' way of thinking, and some of the things the way he lived, some of it in me or in my head or whatever you want to say that. And you guys can think I made this up or not, but I'm going to say some few things about in my life where I where I wasn't a Christian, but I tried to or thought about acting like Jesus. First of all, um, first of all, when my dad became Illuminati and we upgraded and moved to a new area, and I didn't know anybody from Adam, and it was my first day in eighth grade on the bus stop, and this kid, I don't even know his last name, so I can't even say it if I wanted to. His name was Chris. He comes up to me and pushes me and laughs to his friends. Pushes me and laughs to his friends and pushes me and laughs to his friends. I know he did it at least 3 times. It might have been 4 or 5. It might have been 10. But the point isn't that I didn't fight back on the spot, because that might have been just because I didn't want to lose the fight to him, or might have been because his friends could beat me up anyway. So that's not the end of the story. That was eighth grade. But then in high school, some people have put down my scholastic achievements, but whatever. In high school, I was actually hired by my school to tutor other kids in my school for $3 an hour. Believe it or not. And I was a junior and I was taking trig and lit, and my own high school was paying me $3 an hour to tutor other kids in my school. And one of them, and this kid was my same grade because we were both at the bus stop together. So he was a junior, but he was taking some other. I'm not going to put him down, but it was not trig and lit. Let's put it that way. So I go to tutor him, and this time I could say, "Who's the badass now, dude?" Who's in control now? And I didn't do that. I just tutored him like anybody else. And he like looked at me for a second and gave me this look like, "What? You're not gonna do that? You're not gonna hand my ass back to me, or so to speak, or whatever." And I just looked at him and, no, I'm not. Just tutored like anybody else. And I think that might have actually, who knows, that might have changed him in his life. I don't know. I didn't follow up on it. It wasn't I also don't know, even know his last name, but that you never know, that might have changed him somehow. But either way, I did not return evil for evil, and Jesus did not do that. And I think Jesus is, even when I was an atheist, I thought Jesus was cool. At least the story of him, and he might, and I didn't, and he, and even when I was an atheist, I knew I might be wrong, and there might really have been a Jesus. So I wasn't so devout of an atheist that I thought the Bible, that I was convinced the Bible isn't right. I just didn't believe it was for at the time. So I was like an open minded atheist. But anyway, I'll give you one more example. Um, I was taking guitar lessons, started when I was 15. I really wanted to play when I was 11 and then 13. My dad wouldn't let me have a guitar for some reason, but he finally gave me one at 15 years old. when I was, if he'd have waited another week, I would have just given up. I would have said, screw it. But no, he get me to have a guitar at 15. I started taking guitar lessons. By the time I'd been playing a year, I was doing Eruption in Spanish Fly and Beat It and all those other things. But anyway, in the midst of that, um, first year, and then because after the second year, all he did is talk about improvisation. He had nothing else to teach me about technique, and I could learn things like a sponge. And all he did the second year was try to get through my head about the psychology and spirituality of improvisation and how and why to do it. And I just twiddled my thumbs and thought, well, this is going to be over. But then it turned out a few years later, it sunk in. It took. I became an improviser, and I owe that to Tom Franks, my teacher. But in the first year, let's say I might have been playing 9 months or something like that, and he showed me the solo to my teacher showed me the solo to Beat It, and I went home. My job was to learn it or listen to it or whatever. I go home and barely practice it because I just had a knack for guitar. I had a knack for tapping. I don't know. I don't ask me why. I just could do it easily. So I didn't even practice much that week. And so I come into lesson. I think lessons were Wednesdays at 7, if you can believe. I remember that, but something like that. I come into lesson, and all of a sudden I just pick up the guitar and I just start tapping away, and I'm just like doing Beat It no, like it's not even hard to me, and I'm just tapping all over the place. And my teacher, who I respected, looked at me and goes, "Dude, you've been practicing a lot this week, haven't you?" And the truth is, I hadn't, but I did not want my teacher to feel bad about himself, or look, no, I didn't, Tom. I didn't do that, and so I actually lied and said, "Yeah, I have, Tom. I practiced really hard. I took a long time to learn this, and because I didn't want to show him up, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings, and I wanted to be in, I wanted to, and and that was an example of of actually speaking of myself, uh, speaking a lie that actually put myself in a lower position than if I would have told the truth, and that is and Jesus, um, uh, that's how he nobody he was the greatest, and he did that, and so I'm just saying there's a few examples in my life, and not just those two, but um, I just always thought a lot of the time I always thought, Jesus lived better than most people. Why don't I try to live more like Jesus than everybody else in the world? I mean, if you don't model yourself after Jesus, who are you going to model yourself after? Clinton. I mean, he's a great man, but is he really what you want to live like? Or maybe you like I don't know, Putin. I mean, I don't know what your politics are, but I always thought if I had to give an example of someone I would like to live like, it usually was I usually was drawn more to the example of Jesus Christ than I was anybody around me, or anybody on TV. Put it that way. So I love you guys. Peace, rock and roll. And I want to mention one more thing. I went to Frank Turek's earlier this year. It was it might have been February or March earlier this year. He had a seminar at Calvary Chapel in Marietta, and it was called "I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist." And I actually attended that, and I was an atheist at the time, and I was the second person to comment, and I went toe to toe with Frank Turk. But he was military, and I respected that because so was my dad. So I wasn't trying to really show him up. I just wanted to express myself, and if he was right, I wanted him to show me that I'm wrong, dude. I mean, I'm there to learn too. You can prove me wrong, dude, but he didn't, and I didn't prove him wrong. But during that seminar, he said a little bit arrogant here, but he said, "Have any? I bet you none of you have ever told a lie to make yourself be less or appear less than what you really are. No, in other words, a disadvantageous lie about yourself." And I had remembered that I did do that. I did that with my teacher, and I raised my hand for a second. I mean, if I only for a second, because he obviously wasn't calling on anybody. But when he asked the whole audience, has anybody told a lie like that? I raised my hand, and he didn't even call me. But even Frank Turek, the great person that made a great seminar or does a great seminar, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, underestimated at least one person there, which was me. And then when I raised my hand, he didn't even call on me. So that tells me that it is a unique thing to do. And then I know in my mind and heart that I had done that, and he basically assumed, and didn't even call on me when I raised my hand, that nobody in the audience had ever told a lie to make themselves lower than what they were. But some kids back behind me, um, liked my answer, like what I said up there, and liked that I raised my hand, and I made a couple friends. Um, what I think one of them's named Ronnie. I don't know his last name, but he's hung out with me a couple times, and we're like Bible friends. We just talk about existential Bible thinking, like what is this theory or what's that theory, or do we believe this or that. It's actually, I think is well, I won't go on about it. That's enough. I think anyway. I could say the name of his girlfriend, but I think that might be trespassing on some kind of thing. But both him and his girlfriend are my friends now, and one times we run into each other, and it's like, hey, good to see you guys, and it's like he's like a Bible friend, and his girlfriend believes in the Bible too, so sometimes she comes along. Anyway, love you guys. Peace, rock and roll. Something told me to do this. At least I go with the flow in life and in my channel. And if something tells me to do something, I just kind of go with it. I mean, I don't have a master plan to end up at X in a certain amount of Y time. I just kind of go with the flow. And something told me to do this video. Love you guys. Peace, rock and roll.